Today we are going to be looking at slope. So, slope, a lot of you will remember it as rise over run, which means the difference in your y values over the difference in your x values. So if we are looking at our example over here, our rise is 6. Notice that it's counting the boxes. And our run is 4. Again, notice that it's counting the boxes and not the lines. So we have 6 over 4. Make sure that you are reducing your fraction. That is 3 over 2. Now, do not change this to a decimal. Slope is a fraction. It should stay as a fraction. Now, to calculate your slope when you just have 2 points and they are not on a graph, we're going to take our difference in our y values, so y2 minus y1 over our difference in our x values, so x2 minus x1. Now, we are going to use the formula for slope. Because this is on a graph, I just recommend using the graph and not the formula. So, the first one we're looking at is line AB. So this line here. And did we go up or down any? No. So that's a 0. Over, and how far over did we go? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Over 5. And 0 over 5, what does that equal? That equals 0. That means that our slope for line AB is 0. Now we are going to look at line AC. So this is line AC. And I want you to do like we talked about yesterday and draw your grid lines in and make sure that they intersect and actually make a right angle. So A to where that intersection is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we went down 5, so that's a negative 5 because we went down 5. And then we're going to go right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it doesn't reduce anymore, so our slope is negative 5, 6. Now notice what I did there. I do my up and down first, and then I go right. That's what you need to do every time. You read your books left to right. That's how you need to read your graphs. So we're going to do the same thing for CD. And we already have CD marked if you did your last one. So we're going from D up 1 and right 6. So that's a positive 1 over a positive 6. So our slope is 1/6 for CD. Okay, and then we are going to look at our last line here, which is line AD. Now, to go from A to D, are we going left or right any? No, but we are going down. So first, down from A to D, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's a negative 6. And we're not going left or right any, so that's over 0. So what is negative 6 over 0? Undefined. And yes, you need to write out the word undefined, or type it out if you are on a computer. Next up, we are looking, again, still to find our slope. And this time we are actually going to use our formula. Remember your formula. Your slope equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we're finding the slope of line HS. So if you need to label your x's and y's, please do so. So y2 is 2 minus y1, which is 5, over x2, which is negative 4, minus x1, which is 3. Now, I know that it gets really confusing on these to make sure that you have things in the right order. My recommendation is make sure that your ordered pairs are stacked. So you have your y on top of your x. So 2 is on top of negative 4. We're good. 5 is on top of negative 3, or on top of 3. We're good. So now we work this. 2 minus 5 is negative 3. Negative 4 minus 3 is negative 7. Now a lot of you will tell me that we're good. We're not, because we have 2 negatives here, and that should change to a positive. Always make sure you reduce your fractions. Okay, our next one, again, make sure you label if you need to. So we're finding the slope of line SD. So take our y's, negative 6 minus 1 over our x's, 3 minus negative 6. Again, double check that your y is on top of your x. So negative 6 has to be over 3. Good. 1 has to be over negative 6. We're good. Okay, so we've got negative 6 minus 1. That's a negative 7. 3 minus a negative 6. So that ends up adding. So 3 plus 6, which is 9. And we can't reduce any further, so we're good. Again, make sure that you are reducing your fractions when possible. And don't change to a decimal. Next up, parallel and perpendicular lines. So parallel lines have the same slope. In other words, they are equal. Meaning that if you have a slope of one line and it's 2, and you have a slope of a second line, it would also have to be 2 in order to be parallel. Now, perpendicular lines are inverse or opposite reciprocals. What that means is that if you have a slope and it is 7/4, you have to flip your fraction and make it negative. So you'd have a slope of negative 4/7. So you for perpendicular lines, one has to be positive, one has to be negative, and your fraction, your numbers have to flip. Now, I need you to look at another example before we go on. So if we have a slope of 0 over 4, meaning that's 0, and we have a slope of 4 over 0, meaning that is undefined. Remember that a slope of 0 over 4 is a horizontal line, and it traces a grid line, and a slope of 4 over 0, which is undefined, is a vertical line. Again, it traces a grid line. It means that those are perpendicular. It doesn't matter what 0 or undefined was before. You figured out that it was 0 and undefined. Those are always going to be perpendicular to each other. So our next examples, we are comparing our slopes that we find and determining if the lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So first off, we're going to find the slope of line AB. So we have 5 minus 1 over 1 minus 2. So 5 is over 1, and 1 is over 2. So 5 minus 1 is 4. 1 minus 2 is a negative 1, and that reduces to negative 4. Then we're finding the slope of line CD. We have negative 2 minus 2 over 5 minus 4. Again, negative 2 is over 5. 2 is over 4. Negative 2 minus 2 is a negative 4 over 5 minus 4, which is a positive 1. That reduces to negative 4. And since these two slopes are the same, they're equal to each other, these lines are parallel. Next up, we're looking for the slope of line ST. So again, remember slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So negative 1 minus 2 over 5 minus negative 2. Double check. Negative 1 is over 5, and 2 is over negative 2. Negative 1 minus 2 is a negative 3. 5 minus a negative 2 is a positive 7. It doesn't reduce any further. Then we're looking at line UV. Negative 4 minus 4 over negative 1 minus 3. Negative 4 minus 4 is negative 8. Negative 1 minus 3 is a negative 4, and that reduces to 2. Negative 3/7 and 2. They're not equal to each other, and they are not inverse reciprocals, so these are neither parallel or perpendicular. And then last up, we are finding the slope of line FG. So 2 minus 1 over 2 minus 1. Again, 2 is over 1 and 2 is over 1. So 2 minus 1 is 1. 2 minus 1 is 1, and that reduces to 1. And then we're looking at line HJ. So 2 minus 1 over 1 minus 2. Double check. 2 is over 1. 1 is over 2. 2 minus 1 is 1. 1 minus 2 is negative 1. That reduces to a negative 1. Now, are these slopes the same? They're not the same. Now, look back before we reduced it. Did they change sign? Yes. Are the numbers flipped? Technically, yes. So these are perpendicular.